Please take in this hater of humanity group. Much like the military-industrial complex, we have the Federal Reserve, U.S. Treasury Department, media complex which works together to manipulate up the stock market, driving a wider wealth divide, hurting both society and the economy, but while sending the message that it is helping us. For short, I shall refer to this unscrupulous organized crime syndicate as the Federal Reserve and Company Complex, or even shorter, the Fed Complex. Today I shall offer a reasonable scenario explaining the insane upward movement of the stock market prior to and following the day of the election in year 2020. I am writing this following the end of the trading day of Thursday, November 5th, right after 4 days in a row of totally unheard of extreme upward manipulation, sending stocks up around 10 to 15%. Mind you, we are in just the beginning phase of a second wave of the COVID-19 virus, with daily worldwide deaths at a record high. The economy prior to COVID was in the toilet, as the real GDP growth per capita was never positive for the past 15 years. And per stringent analysis using historical valuation models in bad times, the stock market went to being an incredible 4 to 8 times overpriced level, with airlines hurting, restaurants hurting, hotels hurting, and as you can see, empty NFL stadiums, all of which means the economy is in shambles. Besides the obvious people not working in areas mentioned above, there would no doubt be a great fallout that extends past these, as when business is down, suppliers to businesses would also be down. There is no conceivable way that this ridiculous upward movement is due in any major part due to the collective investors who really are gambling with valuations through the roof. There is no doubt a big outside hand in this, which I point to the Federal Reserve and Company Complex exhibiting its abject corruption. It was only a week back that, because of Biden wanting to raise capital gains taxes in addition to other taxation affecting primarily the wealthy, that there was collective understanding that if Biden were to win, the stock market would crash, and the opposite would happen if Trump were to win. In addition, it should be known to all that in times of uncertainty, including the uncertainty involving who won the election, that Wall Street usually falls down hard. And so now this is the dilemma. The Federal Reserve and Company Complex realized the very real possibility of Biden as the winner. Suddenly, the narrative changed in news stories pointing to investors wanting Biden to win. And I say to that, where the hell is the survey data supporting this? Of course there is no such survey with that conclusion. It's totally fabricated, as if to provide a sense of security for the wealthy, so the Fed Complex wouldn't have to be using as much money to egregiously manipulate up the stock market. If the wealthy started selling stocks, the Fed Complex would have to use much more money to prop up the markets. But this upward manipulation has really gotten out of hand. We are above record market levels prior to COVID-19, and while the economy was truly in the toilet back then, to now, with the economy in even worse shape, this makes no sense. We have dummies in the Fed Complex not caring about the fallout from their stupid actions. There are diligent investors in the correct side of fair value getting unjustly killed. The inflation produced in the stock market spreads throughout the rest of the economy. We already had a record homelessness, but apparently the Federal Reserve isn't content with the level of this malady, so they are causing home expenses to go up to create more homeless. Isn't that a wonderful policy? It's truly sad we had a president and over 500 members of Congress all hushed up on this. It's as if they all fear not getting money for re-election from AIPAC if they say anything about the destruction being done by the Federal Reserve. So why has the narrative changed in the last week? Market expected to go up on Trump winning, down on Biden winning, and if there's uncertainty as to the winner, the equity market would plunge. In past times when stock futures are deeply negative in the pre-market, a Fed governor has a direct link to the media to get out his job owning up the market with simultaneous tens of billions of dollars of manipulating up the stock futures with the help of its primary dealers, and the U.S. Treasury Department. I have asked numerous times for the records of the U.S. Treasury Department of manipulating up the stock market since March 2009, and they never respond. I asked the U.S. Justice Department to step in to enforce the law, and they will not. I tell you, it's an enormous conspiracy going on. Our government is working primarily for the wealthy, and it's the helm with everyone else. For this instance, prior to Monday morning, the day prior to the 2020 elections, it is quite conceivable that the Fed Complex got together to scheme up a way to deal with Biden winning. What they needed was the media to relentlessly keep saying markets up on Biden winning, but just prior to that, to ease in on the sham, stories were first written to the effect of investors are hoping for Biden to win. This all had to go in concert with a massive cash injection into the equity markets at just the right time. It's truly sad that this outside interference goes on and is unchecked by our government. It's one thing to stabilize the markets from deep plunging, but to do this when the markets are wildly overpriced and to then over the course of 4 days make markets soar 10 to 15%, this is outrageous. Heads truly should roll, but will they? You bet they will not. We have this unscrupulous Fed complex working against the American people, and there's nothing you can do about it short of a revolution. These persons are traitors and deserve swift prosecution and harsh punishment. Now do your part in writing to the FOMC, the main heads of the Federal Reserve, and do not let up in contacting your representatives in Congress to tell them you have had enough of the Federal Reserve destroying this country. The Fed needs to be dissolved at once. As you can see, at the end I am displaying the auto-response messages from the Federal Reserve. I wrote the Fed perhaps 300 to 400 times while they worked feverishly against this country, and I am one who is profoundly negatively affected. They will not pay attention to one solitary person. We need tens of thousands of people doing what I have been doing, and then they will start waking up. Do not rest. Your lives are at stake.